For those of you who are new here, hi, I'm Mainely Mandy, and I occasionally make video essays. And believe it or not, I don't just make 3-hour documentary series length videos. Oh no, occasionally I do other things. I've got a couple of interesting ones in the works right now that I'm very excited about and hope you enjoy. This here is definitely more of a react video. For those of you who don't know, the TV show You, which is on Netflix, it's about to have its 4th season, I think sometime this year, has some polyam rep in the 3rd season, and it created quite the stir on Twitter. Essentially, the gist was, holy cow, polyamory, let's all clamor to watch it. Oh, it's not that good. I am very late to this discourse because I did actually watch all of You because I was really curious to see about what this polyam representation looked like. I am also one of those polyam people that I'm like, representation? Where? Like, that's just kind of what we do. No. Calm your fucking self down, dude. There you go. Okay. I don't know how many of the people who were talking about it on Twitter watched all of You or were familiar with it before talking about the polyamorous representation. I can't really speak to that, but I did make a point to actually watch all of it because I wanted to know like the full context. So I think there's something about this show that when we're talking about the polyamorous representation that we kind of have to keep in mind that I think some people have been missing when they're talking about this. Maybe not everyone. I'm sure there's plenty of very smart girl guys and MBs out there who are also picking up on this. But because I personally have not seen that, I'm going to talk about it here. Why not? Here we go. Spoilers for all seasons of the show You. Also maybe a little bit of spoilers for the show Sex Education, because I want to talk about sex education a little bit while I'm talking about this. This is a non-scripted video, so there's going to be a lot more likes, all that in it after creating a 3-hour documentary. I'm going to just keep saying that because 3 hours, I did that. That's a thing I made for fun. So this will just be something simple, just me talking about this in a very light way. You talks about this guy, his name is Joe Goldberg, who in the 1st season, he sees this girl who comes into his bookshop, right? And just immediately is enamored with her. And he does all of the typical cute guy stuff, right? You know, he kind of gets a little crush on her. They have this nice little rapport. He follows her back to her house, watches her through her windows, sometimes masturbates. You know, it's just typical guy stuff. Oh, did I mention that this video has a content warning for stalking? I honestly don't know how much content warning to put on this because I feel like it should be all because of the subject matter, but we'll just use stalking as kind of the umbrella content warning, and maybe I'll put some like little ones underneath that just so you all know. The show is about a guy who regularly becomes obsessed with women to the point that he is, hacking their phones and tracking their movements and kind of controlling who or what they are seeing and doing on a regular basis. Presenting himself as this like beloved little, almost like a rom-com protagonist. Almost said the exact wrong thing, was given away a little too quickly here. This is, us having this sort of dramatic irony of knowing that he's a bad dude who can literally like lock people in this glass case of doom that he has in his basement. But at the same time, he continually is narrating over everything. So we're constantly getting his version of events.
Not worried. I've seen enough romantic comedies to know guys like me are always getting in jams like this.
I won't spoil every single plot point, so if you are interested in watching the show, you can still hopefully enjoy it. But what I will say is that in the 1st season, we get like this first relationship, romantic interest, whatever you want to call it, stalking victim that he is obsessed with. Her name's Guinevere, and we see what happens with that relationship. Season 2 takes place in Los Angeles, and at this point he has fled. The 1st season is in New York, so he's fled New York, he's gone to the West Coast now, and we get the sense that he's going to essentially do this again with this new woman he meets, whose name just so happens to be Love. And it's this new obsession. At the same time, there's someone from his past who seems to be potentially trying to hunt him down that he's trying to avoid. He's very focused on Love in this very sort of like creepy, obsessive way, the same way he was Guinevere. But at the end of season 2, and this is one of the major plot points, you find out that Love is also a little obsessive with Joe. And so in a way it's like, oh, isn't that cute? They've come together, 2 serial obsessed people who also might be serial murderers. Cool, fun. So the end of season 2, we find out Love is pregnant, and they move to this new suburban, like, nice little area, right? And the season 2 sort of like cliffhanger is Joe noticing one of his neighbors, and it's this big like, oh my God, he's gonna be obsessed with someone else now, even though he has this like perfect little life. So season 3 takes place is in this little suburban neighborhood where there's like this like very big mommy social blogger influencer who's in the neighborhood, and it's them with like a baby now. It's very like Dexter season 3? What season was that? What season was it when Dexter had a baby? A lot of this show reminds me of Dexter. The thing about You that I hope I'm explaining well here is that You is very much, in my opinion, just like textbook unreliable narrator. I'm gonna say that again because I pronounced that weird. Textbook unreliable narrator. Everything that we see, with the exception of like 1 or 2 like episodes that sometimes like kind of jump to other people's perspective just for a little bit of more context, or moments when you do see characters doing other things, for the most part, like 95% of the show is presented through Joe's point of view. And Joe is obviously very unreliable. He is a serial stalker who continually comes up with good excuses for why it's okay for him to be doing what he's doing. It's okay for him to be hacking into somebody's phone or following them around, you know, like it's totally fine because he's helping to protect that person. In season 1, you actually find out that there is a best friend of Guinevere's whose name is Peach, and she's like this like very like rich socialite type who you find out is actually also secretly in love with Guinevere. I don't know why so many people are in love with this woman Guinevere. She was fine, I guess. I mean, she was pretty enough. Oh, although side complaint about this show, and I have to complain about this. This show made me so mad in season 1 because Guinevere lives in a first floor apartment. The curtains are just always open, and she is just openly masturbating.
Jesus, it's like you've never seen a horror movie.
First floor like I could understand maybe like the 5th floor, 8th floor, whatever. First floor apartment, there's no way a real woman would just keep her curtains open, just openly fucking people and masturbating with her windows open like that. No way. In fact, there is an episode later in the season where the curtains are inexplicably closed for this like one scene that they need to be closed for plot reasons. And it was just like, why would they have been closed if you've already... I'm sorry, this is not important. So we find out that Guinevere's best friend in season 1, Peach, this socialite type of character, is secretly also in love with Gwen. And the way that Joe talks about Peach's love for Gwen is just so like, it's obviously meant to be sort of ironic. It's so obvious that the way he's talking about Peach and talking about how like, oh, this love that she has been like corrupted and twisted and turned into this dangerous kind of obsession. It's very, you know, like, dude.
Look at that. How dare she invade your privacy like that?
But that's kind of the point. And that was kind of the point in the show when I noticed him doing that, where I was like, okay, this is an unreliable narrator. We are not supposed to, as the audience, empathize or think what he's doing is okay, because it's not. I like to think of this as kind of like the 500 days of summer kind of problem in a way, where on the one hand, you know, you have very much this like structure where you're trying to show like, hey, maybe this main character isn't as innocent as he appears. Maybe he is misunderstanding the intentions of other people and twisting them and making excuses, right? Like, we're not supposed to think everything Tom does is okay. Like, we're not supposed to. However, that movie is very flawed in the sense that because everything is from Tom's perspective, ultimately, everything is sort of skewed. It's kind of this problem that I think You has too, where Joe is the main character. Most of what we see is from his perspective. We're constantly getting his narration that he's doing over all these scenes. He's very much unreliable. You cannot trust what he says because look at what he's doing. He literally kills a woman at the end of season 1. So all of this, I think, is important to keep in mind before we even talk about the polyamorous representation in You, because since we're coming at things from Joe's perspective, everything we're seeing is skewed by that. And I think that's a really important aspect of this that we don't see people, at least those I've seen, talking about the polyam representation specifically in You. I don't see people talking about that angle of it. There is one episode that talks about polyamory. There is a couple that Love and Joe meet in season 3. They are the Conrads, And they are a very, like, they're both very into Instagram. She's a mommy blogger. He's like a health fitness guru type. So the Conrads, at some point in the show, end up approaching Joe and Love about potentially playing together. And they very specifically use the word polyamorous. They say, we are polyamorous. But the way they are talking about this and approaching them is very much in a swinger way. And this was the thing that a lot of people didn't like. This was kind of the main crux of the criticism. Swinging is usually more about just having like sexual experiences with people outside of your partner. And sometimes that includes like actual swaps where you swap partners and you do things. You might go to an event and have giant orgy. There are some people who are polyamorous and are also swingers. They're not necessarily mutually exclusive. So as much as it can be a little bit annoying that we're not seeing more of like the polyamorous side of what their relationship might be, I don't think them being more into swinging is necessarily bad polyam rep. Joe is not going to be the kind of character who gives a flying fuck about the difference and nuances between polyamory, swinging, and where they intersect. He's just not gonna care. He literally, at one point in his narration, makes a point to say something about how polyamory is something that people only do when their relationship is dying. He wants them to explore polyamory solely to try and like force a breakup with Love. Bad plan. So there's this, so basically you have at the end of one of the episodes, this couple approaching Love and Joe about potentially swinging together. And then you have one episode that's after this that's basically just about them like potentially preparing to play. What's interesting too is that at the beginning of that next episode that's just about them exploring this potential together, you see Joe reading more than two. Now you all see why I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I doubt that the people behind this show are this clever. I highly, highly doubt it. But also, isn't it interesting that a toxic character, a guy who's very assured of his own version of events, reads a book about polyamory, co-written by a guy very assured of his own version of events, and who also has been accused of some shitty things. Isn't that interesting? In an episode where the main unreliable narrator character is reading a book co-written by somebody who I would also categorize as a big-time unreliable narrator, except, you know, he's not fictional. There's just something, do you get what I'm saying? There's just something in my brain that when I was watching that episode, I was just like, ooh, spicy. Again, I don't think the people behind this show are that level of clever. I think that is giving way too much credit to imply that More Than Two was specifically chosen. I think for me personally, in a show like this, I don't expect good polyam rep. I just don't. And I think that's kind of the direction I come at it from. Like if this was a show that was specifically supposed to be about polyamory, or the polyamory was meant to play a bigger role than what it does in the show, maybe I would have stronger feelings about the way it's presented. Personally, I just don't though, because it's just a show that's not, I don't want to say it's a show you can't take seriously, but I just can't, because again, season 1, first floor, curtains wide open, just openly. For me, I tend to be a little bit more critical about shows where I feel like the polyam rep is either not being handled well, or it just isn't there in a show that otherwise you'd think it would be there. For example, the show Sex Education. Sex Education has definitely gotten some shit from the polyam community about not having polyamory yet. And I kind of agree with that. Granted, there's a lot of stuff they're doing in that show that I think is really good. Like I did enjoy the Ace representation. I thought that was really interesting. I love that they had some non-binary characters this past season. That was really cool. I like the diversity of the characters. I will say that I think that Sex Education is setting themselves up for some non-monogamy representation next season. I don't know for certain if that's gonna happen. I don't know for certain. Fingers crossed. But something happened specifically in season 3 that made me go, okay, I'm here for this. I don't know if any of this was enjoyable at all. Was it? I don't know. Hey everyone, Editing Mandy here. So I kind of just rambled for a little bit longer, so I decided just to kind of abruptly stop this. But one thing I forgot to mention that I do want to say here is that Noir has a really great video talking about sort of like polyamory, specifically like polyamory within like Black relationships and like what that looks like. And she can obviously speak to that better than I, as a very white person, can, nor should I probably even try. So I'm going to link her video in my description box. It'll probably be up on the screen somewhere too, and you should definitely go give that a watch. Something else I wanted to mention in this, and since we're here, and this is a short one anyway, I am hoping to change something about this channel. This is a small thing, and I don't know if many people would notice this anyway, but basically I've been feeling very, the way I think a lot of people are feeling right now, which is to say very overwhelmed. There's just a lot going on in the world, and it just feels like so much. And it kind of sometimes feels like I don't do enough to try and you know, help, you know, try to do some more activism or something. Like I do tend to sometimes get stuck in these periods of just being so overwhelmed that literally all I can do is like sit on my couch and just veg for a while, because there's just so much noise. Just doing something, anything. If we could all just do something, that would just make me feel slightly better, maybe. So to that end, something I'm gonna start doing with my videos, I think, is that at the end of each video, I'm gonna try and include some kind of like call to action that's not just about, you know, like subscribe and like me on Twitter. Like, obviously it'd be great if you all do that too. But also I wanna like put out calls about like certain like local things I notice is happening. You know, like if I hear there's gonna be a protest, I'm trying to advertise for that protest if I can, depending on what it's about, obviously. You know, if we protest the Proud Boys again anytime soon, that could be fun and scary. I've also been looking into supporting more local Indigenous efforts. Like I signed up for like a newsletter for the Wabanki Nation. You ever like think you know how to pronounce a word and then you say it out loud and you sound like you think you sound really dumb? I am still a small platform, but I would still like to at least be doing something with this, and maybe that's something that can help. So to that end, if there's ever something in particular that you want to bring to my attention, my email is available in the description box, but it's mainlymandy@gmail.com. You can definitely give me an email. Full disclosure, I'm going to be mostly trying to focus on things kind of like in a, the kind of priority, the way I'm looking at it is like first and foremost are local things. So anything that's Maine related is something I'm going to be most interested in. It'd be like Maine first, United States after that, and then after that it's going to be more like global. And again, not because America first, but like more because I just need to narrow my focus a little bit. And when I look at the world, I tend to get very overwhelmed. Like if I look at the world and think about transphobia, fuck is that overwhelming to deal with and to just think about how to be a good ally. But on the other hand, if I narrow my focus and think, hey, Trans Net, Maine Trans Net, that's a great organization. What are they up to? What are they promoting right now? What are they looking to raise money for? Something like that, you know what I mean? I feel bad to have to put this kind of boundary on it, but I can't shout out people's like specific GoFundMe. I do need to have that boundary though for myself, because if not, it's just gonna get overwhelming too fast. So if you have something that's more like, hey, here's an organization, here's a mutual aid thing. I'm part of an organization where we raise money so that we can give homeless people nice clothes and haircuts so they can hopefully go to job interviews, you know, or I'm somebody who works with a mutual aid that is about getting food specifically to disenfranchised youth, queer youth in this area, or you know, things like that. If it's something like that, get in touch with me, send me an email. Make sure to include links. Only send me one email, please, just one. Keep in mind, I am one person. I make videos usually about once a month. I'm gonna try to be making more videos as time goes on, but like that's kind of where I'm at right now, so certain things I might not be able to talk about. And again, I'm mostly gonna be prioritizing local stuff first, but if I see something that you know catches my eye or is relevant, especially to certain videos I make, then that's what we'll do. I hope I explained all that well. All right, everyone, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed that announcement. I hope you're excited. There are lots of exciting things yet to come this year on this channel. I promise you I'm not a one-trick pony, although I will not be making any more 3-hour documentaries for a while, in theory. Although I will say I do have a big project for maybe next year. That one might get lengthy too. I'm sorry. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like down below, write a comment, tell me what your thoughts are of the show, if you've watched it, if you haven't watched it, are you thinking about it, are you not thinking about it? Like tell me your thoughts. I'm kind of intrigued to see what people have to say about that. You can also support me financially over on patreon.com/Mainely Mandy, where you can get access to like behind the scene pictures and some things that are not available. Currently, all of my patrons actually have access to a video diary of sorts that I filmed during the filming and editing of Abuse and Polyamory. I also include some things in there, like a couple of deleted scenes, some outtakes, things like that. If one-time donation's more your style, I do also have Coffee, Venmo, and PayPal. All of those links are down below in my description box. Thank you all so much. I hope you're excited for the next what the next year is bringing. Hopefully you're pumped. And if you hate unscripted Mandy, don't worry. She's gonna be very scripted next script, so you don't have to worry about that. Very scripted next script. That was a great sentence. Good job. This video is brought to you by all of my patrons over on patreon.com/Mainely Mandy, but a special thank you to Angela Ward, Kevin Cook, Beat Duck, David Linz, Polyamethyst, and Sicknin. Just like covered in cat hair. Yep, I'm covered in cat hair. That's fine.